This is going to be the video tutorial for section 8 of the Ruby Satchel handbag. In this section, we are going to set our handles in place, if you're using handles, and drop in the lining, completing the bag before we go to our crossbody strap. This is a really exciting time because now you're going to see everything assembled in this section. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move everything aside. I'm going to remove the handles over to the side, and I'm going to give you instructions on how to set your lining into place without the handles. I thought I would take a few minutes to show those of you who have chosen not to add handles to this bag exactly what you need to do from this point on. So everything will be the same for the drop-in lining as it would be with the handles, with the exception that your handles will be added to this section right here before you do the drop-in lining. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of instruction on how to do this without the handles first. So what you want to do is you want to place a piece of double-sided tape on the inside fold, starting at that center mark, going all the way around the back or the front, depending on which side you are at. This is the back for me. And you go from mark to mark, and you separate that so that you are actually going to have two pieces of double-sided tape. You will be wanting to work from both sides, so that is why you need that separation right there. Another thing you need to do is to follow the instructions in the that I'm going to be doing with the contact cement. You want to add a bit of contact cement here, 1 by 1 or 1.5 by 1.5 inch square on both pieces of the foam, as well as adding it to this back section right here of the facing. So what you want to do is you want to place your bag on the side like this and your lining on the side. This is going to be my closure up here, so I want to make sure that I'm sliding my lining into my bag in the right direction. So this is how I've chosen to do mine. So what you would do is you would slide this into place just like that. And before you connect your sides right here where you have your contact cement, you'll need to peel back some of your double-sided tape, and then you would place this in that seam right there, right against that mark, which is your center mark, making sure that these tops are nice and even, and then you would clip in place and put pressure in that area to connect your contact cement. That contact cement is there so that this piece does not pull away like that from the exterior of your bag. It gives it more support on the side because your zipper placket will be coming along here, and that will get it nice and smooth and you won't have any distortion. So what you would normally do then at this point is do the same thing to the side. You would pull more paper off, make sure your contact cement is connected well, and then you would go ahead and mark your centers, clip all the way around, making sure that everything is connected by pulling off your tape and then connecting that well. If you have a cylinder arm machine, then you can just go ahead and do your stitching all the way around using a 3/16 of an inch stitch from this fold. 1/8 of an inch is not enough, and 1/4 seems to be a little bit too much, so I choose to use 3/16, which I do have an edge foot that would be perfect for that. If you do not have 3/16, find something on your pressure foot to use as a guide. So that would be all you require to do, except for if you do not have a cylinder machine, then you may need, if you have a flatbed, you may need to stitch this from the inside. And if that is the case, you want to make sure that this top fold of your facing is just a hair below your exterior. So that way you can use the exterior as your guide and everything will be nice and straight on the other side. You also need to make sure that your stitching that's showing back here is more decorative, making sure that it's not flat or pulled like some industrials would do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my handles and we're going to mark for the handles and we're going to set them in place and then we're going to continue. Okay, we are now ready to set our handles in place. I have gone ahead and placed my marks on the inside of the back wall as well as the inside of the front wall for my handle placement. So I have taken and measured 2 1/8 of an inch from center over. You can also take this handle portion and lay it with the center mark and then mark the sides so that you know where the placement is. I have also gone ahead and added my contact cement just on that lower portion, about 1/4 of an inch, on the side of the handle that does not have the screw. Okay, make sure that that is the side. You do not want to place it on the side that has the screw. So the right side of the handle. So both pieces are ready to be connected. I have also added my contact cement between my 2 marks, just like that, and about 1/4 of an inch down and covering about 1/2 an inch, just like that. I want everything to be well connected. What you're going to do is you're going to take this handle and you're going to turn it so that the contact cement is connected. Now remember, I had you mark on both sides, and there's a reason for that, and that's because when you place this on, you are looking blind. So you want to make sure everything is even and level. The first thing you want to do is to make sure that this point right here, mark, and this point are aligned, and that 1/2 inch mark is even with the top fold of your bag, your exterior of your bag. So I'm just going to place that in there first, just like that. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pinch. And then I'm going to come to this side and do the same thing over here. Just give that a little bit of a pinch, and everything then should fall into place. Your center should be aligned perfectly. And I'm going to show you, so this is, you can see you do have a bit of a gap there. I'm going to show you this from the right side. So that means that that mark right there, the 1/2 inch mark, is exactly in the same position as the one on the inside. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a squeeze, and that is contact cement, so it's going to stay connected very well, so you don't have to clip that in place. So now we're going to deal with the front portion. Same thing applies. I want to turn this so that the right side of the contact cement is going to connect with this contact cement. Again, I want to align that 1/2 inch fold and that mark on the side like that. And if you have to pull it off to get it exactly even, then you can, because there's not much contact cement in there. And just get that nicely aligned before you actually press it in place. Now, if you wish, you can use rubber cement here, and that's repositionable. Contact cement is not quite as easy to move as rubber cement, but rubber cement will allow you to pull that away if you didn't get it perfectly straight. So there's how it looks from the front, just like that. Here, I'll turn it this way. So you want to make sure everything is nice and even and aligned. The distance between the bottom of this handle and the bottom of this handle over here is nice and even. So I'm ready to go. Now what I want to do is I want to add some double-sided tape to the inside of my bag. You've noticed I've already added my contact cement in this portion right here as well as on my lining. But first I want to place my double-sided tape, now that my handles are in place, along that folded edge. Get this all stuck to me. So you want to begin at that center mark right there on the side. You want to, I'm using 1/4 inch double-sided tape. You can use 3/16 if you wish. I am placing that tape all the way along that lower folded edge, just right there. So just above actually that foam. I'm going to go completely over top of my handles, just like that, continuing all the way over until I reach the mark on the other side, right there. I want to snip that tape so that it is I create 2 separate pieces. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start again, and I'm going to place that edge right there. Same thing all the way around until I get to the other side. So as you can see, I have come around completely to the other side. I'm going to snip that double-sided tape. And now, as you can see, you should have started right here in the center of the side, come all the way around until you reach the other side. There's a reason why you have a split there, and that is so that when we place our lining into position, we need to peel back that portion to connect our contact cement. Okay, so that is all ready to go. Now I'm going to grab my lining. I'm just going to set this piece down, and I'm going to make sure that the direction of my zipper is placed in the proper way. So this is the front of my bag, and I want my zipper to end here, just like that. I always like to have this overlay on the back wall, which is right back here of my bags. So I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to lift that up, open up that area, and slip my lining into place, just like that. Now, there is contact cement here, remember, and over here, as well as onto your side portion of your bag. So what I need to do is I need to pull away a little bit of double-sided tape from that side, pull a little bit of double-sided tape away from that side, and now I'm going to place the seam right there and align it with my center mark, which is right there. And I'm going to make sure that the top portion of my facing is even with the top of my exterior before I squeeze that together. Make sure that's nice and even to there and just to there. And then I'm going to feel that, and then I'm going to squeeze that together. Now remember, that's contact cement in there. So that's contacting the whole piece right there so that this portion does not pull away from your bag. Just squeeze that nicely in place. Now we're going to swing the bag to the other side, and we're going to repeat that process over here. You want to pull away a little bit of tape, just like that. Same as over here, just like that. And you're going to align. I'm going to pull my zipper pull off because I don't need it on there. I'm going to align that seam with that mark, making sure that top edge is even and aligned. So I've done the same thing on this side as I did on the other side. I've squeezed everything together, and I've actually placed a couple of clips on there. Now what you want to do is you want to peel back the rest of this double-sided tape, working one side at a time. And I generally like to take and align this portion right here first, all the way along until I am level with that mark that's on my handle. And I'm going to do the same over to this side, making sure everything is nice and even. And remember, you did do a dry fit, so everything should fit perfectly. And you will notice that this, once you've sealed these sides down, this falls directly into place, just like that. So if you were to place a pin, which you can't, through that back area, you would notice that it is exactly even and aligned. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, but first of all, I'm going to just add a clip there just to make sure that nobody's going to move on me, especially on my handles. So I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. Now completed the other side, and you can see how nice that is looking. And there is my mark. And you can also see that you are even along here on the inside. I'm going to place a clip here and a clip here just to make sure that's not going to shift. Now, if you're not using strong double-sided tape, I would highly recommend it that you place a couple more clips, especially on that seam area right there. So there you have it. We're all ready to go to the sewing machine, and we're going to do our top stitching on our the exterior. I am using a cylinder machine, so therefore I can place the cylinder in the inside which makes it a lot easier to do a drop-in lining. But if you need to, you can actually stitch from the inside if you're using a flat bed. You can clear everything well on your foot from this edge right here. Now, I recommend something to you. Make sure that you put a foot on that's going to clear this handle. So you may want to just test that to see if it's going to make sure everything's going to clear. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to top stitch all the way around this bag. I'm going to begin probably on the back, right by that seam right there, and I'm going to come around all the way around. I'm not going to back stitch when I begin or I end because I want it to be a continuous stitch, and I'm going to end my stitch in that same position, and then we're going to pull our threads between the layers of the bag, tie knots off, and then feed them back down again. So now I'm going to go to the machine and we're going to do our top stitching. Okay, I am at my sewing machine. I am using my cylinder so I can place the portion of the cylinder machine inside my bag. If I was going to be on a flat bed, I would be stitching from the inside out just to make sure that everything was going to be stitched well, because you cannot do the outside unless you bend back your bag, which of course you can do as well. I am starting on the back and I'm starting at that seam, so I have my needle in the down position right there into that seam, and I'm going to use the edge of this foot, which is just shy of 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to use that as my guide, and I'm going to come all the way along here. I've already tested to make sure that it's going to clear those handles at the end. And I'm also going to make sure that I'm holding back my zipper placket right here. I want to push it back so it's well out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start sewing. And I have lengthened my stitch length to approximately 4.5 so that I can make sure that it's a nice, even, consistent stitch. Okay, so now I can continue all the way around, completing the top stitching of the bag so that the drop-in lining and everything will all be nice and connected. Now, as you can see, this is where I began my stitching, and this is the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, before I get too close, I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to pull my thread to the inside of the bag, just like that, so that when I come along and finish my stitch, it's not going to split that stitch. So there you have it. I have finished in the same hole right here. So now I'm going to go back to the table and we're going to pull the threads and tie them off. Okay, I have completed the top stitching all the way around the bag. As you can see, there's the inside along that top edge on both sides right there. I have gone ahead and put my pull back on. I have pulled my threads to the wrong side and fed them up between the two layers of the facing as well as the exterior. I've added some knots, and now I'm just going to push my needle. I'm using a long doll needle, so I'm just going to pull that down so that I bury the threads down between those layers, just like that. And I'm going to snip that off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my zipper end on. Now, I just want to give you a bit of a tip. You can have as long a tail as you want. I don't like a long tail on this bag, so what I generally do is I open up my zipper until it's in a position where I don't want it to open any further, so right about there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close that off, and I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back, forming a peak just like that, and then I'm going to put some glue on this end, slide that on, and secure it in place. So I'll do that to finish off the top of the bag. But basically, this is how your bag is going to look, just like that. There's your handles, beautiful. There's your feet. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to section number 9, and we're going to complete the crossbody strap so we can add it to this gorgeous bag.